No, the thing is, I used to couldn't fit in that.
What you mean?
I used to knock the camera out of focus. But I'm on my way.
I like my damn grandpa.
You ready, sir?
Jesus Christ.
Ready?
Ready, sir?
Oh yeah, we good.
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on the intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. I'm your host, Roman. We have a terrific show planned for you today. Please don't forget to stay tuned to intellectualradio.com after the Drive at 5 for Warriors Talk with Rochelle at 6 p.m. Tonight, my guest is a former automatic candidate, community leader, and a doctoral candidate scholar. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to DeAndre Rutas. Welcome back to the Drive, man.
What's up, bro? Thanks
Hey.
for having me again. Yes, sir. It's been a minute.
No problem. So please give intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station an update since the last time you was on the Drive.
It's been a minute. I think the last time I was on, it was Steve and I,
Yes.
and we were talking about Northwest Austin Council and some of the things that we were involved in. Maybe that would have been 2020 when we were taking from Central to Austin, North Avenue to Division, surveyed the community, wanted to look at the dimensions of caring, communicating, and connected, being that those rated higher on those scales will probably be the more safer blocks. And with that, we also wanted to look for leadership that we could grow from the community's perspective so that those individuals could be leaders of those blocks, transmit information, help with upkeep, make sure that community members know about the resources that's available, that type of thing. And if so, then we did just that. We returned 228 surveys. We found 24 people willing to be leaders. We trained at least 6 of those individuals, and we did not move a step forward, unfortunately.
And why is that?
It was just us two, you know what I mean? And it was a very difficult undertaking. We did that from July to the 1st of November, and it was just us two. I did create a beautiful report that Congressman Davis looked at, and he thought it was wonderful because he's all about block club development and things like that. So essentially what we were doing was just that. And he wanted us to get in tune with our state rep, and that's ongoing. And so we put in a lot of work, we put a lot of pain in, and we produced a beautiful document that individuals have asked about, and I think it will inform our next steps.
So what happened to the people that were trained? They just there?
No, I mean, we have contacts with them, but I will say this. Those individuals are people that are tired. One of the things that we do far too often is rely on the old guard, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully. I just mean that there are people, they get to a certain age and they just want to relax. And we are burdening them with this whole idea of leadership and leading their communities when they were doing that back in the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s. These people want to relax, man. And it's incumbent on us.
But I want to challenge you on that. If they want to relax, then don't take the job. That means don't, get out of that position and let somebody else, or groom that person and say, you know what, I'm tired. I'm going to give that position to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. But at the same time, those people have to step forward and say that they're willing to do something like that. I mean, to be completely honest, there's not a whole lot of younger leadership. I'll give you a great example. One of our block club leaders, who was a block club leader for about 30 years at best, he was trying to go ahead and relax, and he was passing the torch down to a younger 40-odd-year-old, hopefully new head of the block club leader, and it just wasn't working out. This guy was not trying to take those reins, even though he said he would be available for it. the unfortunate is, especially for our communities, we have to do a little bit more, you know. And I'm not saying that we have the capacity to do a little bit more, because all the time we don't. But if we want to see our communities in positions similar to those on the farther east of the city or more north of the city and some of those spots out south, you know, we're gonna have to do a little bit more. You know what I mean? And
What
that
is
means
that little bit more in your opinion?
well, one, it got to be younger people. Younger people have to be ready to assume the mantle, but they also have to be willing to put just a little bit of extra effort. That little bit more, what I mean, could be just 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day, whatever it may be, in order to facilitate what you want to see for your community. So, what that could look like is, you know, the community in a particular area banding together for 1 hour a week to clean up their facades, right? Their housing and things like that. I mean, it could look like individuals attending 1 hour some community events that take place, meeting some new people, learning what the resources are. So if they don't need them, they can then share them. I mean, just a little bit. A little bit means just a little bit. And that could be 1 hour doing something that you haven't done in a community before.
But some people would say that that's what the alderman is for. That's what your state rep is for. That's what your commissioner is for. And why a block club should do all the legwork and provide the resources if it's kind of like, we got you in there, do your damn job.
No, what? That's why we have politics backwards, because we put these individuals in a position to represent us in the ways that we need to be represented. So our state rep should be writing legislation that affects our children, right? Our health care, policing, and our public safety, things like that.
But what
our
are
aldermen,
you doing? Wait. But what you're doing right now,
yeah.
Don't you consider that kind of public safety?
What I do? Yeah, it's absolutely public
Or
safety.
what you're just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Sure.
so what you're saying is basically, okay, in a legislative way, I can agree with you on that.
Okay.
However, the disagreement is, you said everybody has to do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Does that include elected officials need to do a little bit more?
Well, they need to do a lot more. I mean, but listen, if the people have reduced their electeds to being celebritized, which I believe we have, to only have to show up to our events, eat some food, shake some hands, kiss some babies, and then go back to wherever they live at, then that's on us. So we're not telling them that they need to be in the community picking up trash where we could physically see them. Tell me the last time you seen an action shot of one of those individuals. Now I could tell you.
Wait. Can you describe an action shot just in case?
Doing some damn work. I mean, taking a shovel, picking some trash up. You know what I mean? Handing out some food or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about at one of these. I mean, we got enough of them. Homeless shelters, food shelters, things like that. I'm just saying, and you will see a lot of those. Don't get me wrong, because that's one thing we know how to do is hand out some food. But I'm just saying, like, things that are more important for the community to rally around. If I see my leader doing that, I think I could do that as well. Those are some of the things might be a little bit more missing. You know what I mean?
So do you think that today's leaders, especially in the Black community, are lackadaisical?
I can't say that for sure. I think they're going to do what individuals allow. And I think as it relates to the political process, we don't understand it enough to even know what they're supposed to be doing. I credit you for teaching me and helping me to understand that every elected official, their first and primary job is to write legislation. All of them. It don't matter what branch of government you belong to. Your central job is to write legislation. Policy governs life. The transformation of our situation will come directly from legislation that is passed. Period. And so when you get past that part, then you got to understand what else they are supposed to do or what could we ask for them. You know what I mean? We don't understand that. Not all of us. Not all of us.
Do you think that the black community put too much pressure on organizations like you represent because it becomes the problem solvers? It becomes in other organizations who are designed to do some of those things are off the hook.
No, not necessarily. I think at the end of the day, an organization exists to solve a problem just like a business does. Our community is overrun with nonprofits. We don't have a business community, but they are problem solvers. The issue is these individuals are staying in business. You create a non for profit with the purpose of solving the problem and then dissolving it because the problem has been solved. Not until they are actually solving the problem will the need for them go away. You know what I'm saying? So they have yet to solve the problem that they had created their articles of incorporation for. That problem hasn't gone away. So
Okay,
they
let's
exist.
say, give you a prime example. Organization, they've been getting money and money, but they said they know how to curb crime. They can do it. Give the money to us. So they receive millions and millions and millions of dollars, but the statistics shows otherwise. What you say to those organizations? Another organization, West Side organization, say we need, drug-free zones in our community. Now, all of a sudden, it's like people are on drugs in that community, and the statistics does not reflect what their purpose or their moniker is saying.
Right.
So,
With the mission, with
right,
what they
right, the
ultimately started
mission.
for sure.
So what I'm saying is, do you think that they are just basically there milking the situation and just trying to get the money? Because if you're trying to do something, it'll show.
Right.
But now we don't see that, the show me state.
Right.
What you say to that?
Well, here's the truth of the matter, and it is that everybody who's anybody will take advantage of you if you allow them. Our community is being taken advantage of from everybody that you can think of, period. It don't matter what the color is. If you allow a person to do what they will do it. We've gotten too comfortable in this space that we operate in. Our communities look the way they look because this is what we're accustomed to. It ain't until you decide mentally, I don't enjoy this, will that change, right? So that being said, what we know of with these organizations and those that prey on us continually is that they are poverty pimps. Our community exists to be able to be a coven for individuals that want to create something to solve something. And so they're and you could look, you could find a multitude of things wrong with our community. Start an organization, business, whatever today, and utilize our ineptitude, our disadvantage, our destitution for your profit. And people do it time and time again. It's not, I wouldn't say that that's a problem. And hear me out when I say that, because the individuals that live in those communities don't believe it's a problem. I can't tell nobody that something is an issue if they can't determine it for themselves.
Could it be that, okay, they are accustomed to the problem, they adapt to the problem, they have mentioned, okay, this person over there selling drugs, go to the alderman's office, go to the police district, and they just ride past every single day and just look at them. Again, they are accustomed. And basically, they throw their hands up and say, hey, I've tried. I did this and I did that. I did what I supposed to do. I rallied my community, but hey, Baby and them is too strong. I got to live my life too. I got to come and go at my house. I have I have a daughter, I have a son and stuff like that. I want them to be safe.
Hmm.
What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, man, all power to the people, and the power is where the people reside. I mean, listen, if you're gonna let 4, 5 people, if you gonna come with an army of 20, and you're gonna let 4, 5 people move you off your spot, then we all didn't need to gather. No way. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, listen, our community, first and foremost, to exist in these communities mean you have to have more heart than the average individual that you gonna find walking downtown. You got to have a whole lot of something else: resilience, grit, determination, perseverance, and everything else that come with living this lifestyle, because this is what we come from. And so for individuals that feel as if they've gotten tired because this thing that we live in continues to exist, it's because they haven't seen any changes, and that's not their fault. But it is to a degree because you continue to live amongst it and you continue to allow it. There are plenty of people that are trying to make a difference, and a lot of times the issue, just like a lot of the issue in our community, is the disjointedness between all of those people. I don't like her because her hair red today, or he think he too smart. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem too.
So, do you think the black community has transformed to a materialistic community?
I mean, we always been materialistic because we ain't never had nothing. I mean, that when we was able
But
to
when
afford,
you say never had anything,
yeah,
but when you go through history,
yeah, but
we did have stuff.
but we ain't
But
talking about.
when people say we don't have anything, it's like, to me, and I'm just saying, speaking for Roman's point of view. I mean, when we talk about we never had no banks, that's false. We did. It was taken away from us.
Mhm.
We had trade centers and stuff like that. We did have that in our community. It was taken away from us because guess what? They go by, oh, what's in black and white, what's feasible, but on the street is something different because, oh, well, we're going to take away these training facilities or parent care or something like that. They don't need it, no way. But in the white community, Hispanic community, they have those things.
Well, again, that now we circling back to the electeds. You got to blame them guys. Again, we put those individuals in place to represent for us, legislate for us for what we need. If those individuals are allowing things like that are helpful to the community to then be siphoned out and put in a different location, or for our community to be transformed without the voice of the community being represented, that's on them. And that's ultimately on us because we put them in that position. And then we see it happening, and then we continue to put them in those same positions again because we don't understand the process. We, like, you talk about history and what we used to have. How many people really know that for real? Like, not a whole lot of people actually know that. You know what I mean? You got to be a learned individual.
But to be fair, they have in schools, even though the state.
What?
And wait a minute, hold on. In schools, even though it is a state law to teach African American history,
right?
They don't enforce teaching African American history like they do other history.
Well, listen, coming from a perspective of a 2-year cadre substitute teacher at the school that I graduated from, Austin High School, I had one of the kids come up and ask, man, come on, Mr. Reuters. I ain't trying to learn about these white folks in history. Man, where the black people at? So the kid's hungering for it. I'll tell you this, though. We the fools, once again, and listen, you got to understand my position on this whole thing. I believe in self-accountability and personal responsibility. I will never attribute what happens to me personal, positive nor negative, externally especially if it's within my control. Now, all the other stuff I get, right? That's Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. They bombed us. They destroyed our institutions. Can't blame that on those individuals, but I can blame today
1985 incident.
Roswell, everything. I mean, everything,
Philadelphia.
everything. Okay, but today, if we are allowing the same individuals that took us from our place of residence, brought us here, built this economic engine, and they stripped us of everything, culture, history, heritage, you name it. And then we expect them to put us in classrooms and teach us about ourselves. You know how ignorant that is? In 2022, if people are still doing that, they're fools, period. You don't ever let the same person that raped you, pillaged you, take your babies and have them swallowed by crocodiles, take grown men and make them have sex with other men. Like, come on. I'm saying it at force. You feel me? Against your will. And then you allow them to teach what they gonna teach you. What they want you to know so they can keep you in the same position that you in.
Are you in favor to have alternative schools? Why can't the Black community, and I said this many times on the Drive at 5, and sometimes it falls on deaf ears, which I heard that terminology before. Why can't we have these rappers that we made millionaires? Schools right now, I thought you need millions and millions of dollars. You only need like a 10,000 plus to purchase a school. Now, I'm thinking, like, why can't these rappers, they're part of the problem, why they can't be part of the solution and purchasing a school, certify the school academically, and we will have our own school. That's what the Black Panthers was trying to do, to teach our own history, and they were mad at that. They had their own schooling. They used to have parties that talk about history, what's going on in the community, and then they do the boogaloo. What's that? It's a dance. So with that being said, why can't rappers in the community get together and purchase some of these closed schools? They're eating up money, and we can start our own academics.
Yeah, well, number one, you can't tell anybody to do with their money. I mean,
That's true.
That's the problem.
But what I'm saying, why we can't follow the model of LeBron James? Why can't we?
I mean, there are several athletes, high profile, as well as entertainers who have done a tremendous amount of work in building schools, teaching kids, giving scholarships, the whole 9, 10, 11, 12. Why it's not here in Chicago, I don't know. You know, yes, we could utilize the help of anybody who's come from these communities so that people that are also from these communities could understand, hey, I could do something different. But my challenge to you is, I wouldn't want to force that up on the rappers and things like that. I would rather them give the money to people like you and me. People that's aspiring doctors. Why? Because we need to raise the level of intellectualism in our community. We used to be the top scholars, top poets, the top entertainers. You know what I mean?
We still are. We just.
No. Because in society eyes, we are not. Our kids don't know that. That's a problem. They want to emulate the LeBron Jameses. They want to emulate the Lil Durks, right? They don't want to emulate the Marcus Garveys. They don't want to emulate the Frederick Douglasses. You feel me? They don't want to be a DeAndre Rudis, running around out here getting his doctorate from the Austin community, right? Being civically engaged, running for politics. They don't see that. That's not something that they aspire to because it's not glamorous. But they need to understand that they came from a rich history of that. And once we get back to that state of teaching, it's okay to be smart. You know how many people get bullied for being nerds? They still do that today. I had one kid wanted to learn. I told him I never played golf. I want to learn how to play golf. Me too, man. He's like, but man, I can't imagine walking past Fonil with the golf clubs on my back. They, look at this nigga, he got golf clubs. You feel me? Like that's real life. And so for me, have those individuals. Number one, you need good representation, right? So if you see black brothers up there teaching, to this day, I got one white teacher, his name Mr. Mack. Shout out Mr. Mack. Best math teacher I ever had in my life. The ones that made the biggest difference on my life were black men that were teachers. A lot of men gonna tell you that too, period. So when they see other black men in those positions that are not just entertainers, but they are actually articulate, they're creative with their words, they can speak not only to the movements that they can make, but the mental gymnastics that they can take on because they have the prowess. You feel me? Those kids change into something totally different, something that they never expected. We give them hope. I'm just saying, like, let's get that. Let's do it that way.
Mine was Mr. Dotson and Brian Piccolo.
Facts. Everybody got one.
So you are on the ground, particularly on the West Side in the Austin community. Crime is up overall. In your opinion, what's going on in the streets of Chicago?
I mean, look, when you look at who's doing the robbing and what carjacking, it's a lot of teenagers, man, young kids. You know what I mean? 13, 12, 11, acting a whole fool out here. Why? Hood ain't got nothing for them. That's fun. I did my little 1 and 2 when I was a shorty. I know what it's like when you ain't got nothing to do and it's hot outside. You got nowhere to go. So you gonna act a fool. And the generation before me did the same thing. You know what I mean? And so there's just not a whole lot for them to do. There are resources, but I'm gonna give you the perfect. I went to last Thursday, 2 o'clock. I'm at the Austin Town Hall, one of the probably the most beautiful structures that we got out there on the West Side. It was a pool full of kids, and that was cool. Everything else is empty though. The bottom floor it's wide open space. I was thinking like, man, it's a lot of space for kids to just run around, just do kid stuff down. Ain't no kids down there though. Right? Like, number one, where the kids at? They
but
probably
is it
downtown.
The fault of that director over there? Is it the fault of because they're getting money for summer programs from the Park District?
I mean, yeah and no. I mean, we've gotten into a space where the parents have to know what's available too. So they have to be able to take advantage of the programs that's available for these kids as well. I mean, in going back to just the violent aspect of everything, as the generation has gotten much faster, access to things that typically weren't available to them, they get a certain mindset and they move off the way that mindset has been curated based off what they see, what they listen to, what they hear, things like that. And now the absence of the father has probably been severely understated. It has always been necessary, but even more so now with the fact that these kids are advancing so quick because of what they see here and absorb on a daily basis. So man, you add in the fact that not that many fathers are at home. I was just talking to a young lady yesterday. She talked about she got 2 full-time jobs she got to take on. There's a lot of other women like that. You talk about auntie, grandma got the babies. They 60, 78. They not finna chase no 13-year-old. They can't do nothing with them. You know what I mean? And the last thing I'll say about it is that we have a huge opportunity with the children that are between the ages of 16 to 24, which we term them opportunity youth. These are the individuals that will affect our society in the most violent of ways, because statistically those are the ones that are that get captured for the shootings and things like that. Now going before them, like I said, those are the ones that's doing the carjacking. That's just child's play for them. That's legit. They got guns, so they ain't a child at that point. And listen, I'm concealed carry, and I would tell anybody, man, what you gotta do what you gotta do. It's either him or me. You know what I mean? And so
So what are your thoughts about the music or internet playing a role in raising today's youth?
I mean, what? That sounds crazy. First of all, nothing can raise your child but you. So if the parent allows that child to consume that type of media, then that's on that parent, not the child. You know what I mean? And again, being that the availability may be different depending on who's in front of you, it may be very difficult to stave off all of this information that's coming in, all of this overload. And children's brains are not developed to the point where they can actually understand what's being consumed. Our mindset in our community is the biggest challenge that we have. Everything that we eat, everything that we read, everything that we visually consume on a daily basis becomes a part of us and programs us. This thing right here is the biggest computer in our body. So every time you feed it with whatever it is you're feeding it, you are using computing power that will turn out a program. You're programming yourself. So no, it is not on the children for what they are being confronted with on a daily basis. It's on the parent that is in front of them that is probably not taking the time out to do what is necessary to make sure that their child is in a different position. And I just want, with the caveat being, there are those that will still go off the rails, no matter what. You know what I mean? And so I do want to say that, because I do know that 2 hour single black moms that really have a hard job at trying to raise their kid by themselves, it's just so much that they have to deal with. But at the end of the day, we got to figure out how, everything they're consuming is a part.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you are a father yourself.
Facts.
Since the last time you were on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the media don't showcase Black fatherhood? The reason why I'm saying that is because what you just mentioned. Fathers.
Mm-hmm.
There are good Black fathers.
Statistically,
in 2016, and I haven't checked if they did another study on that. In 2016, CDC did a study, and they showed Black fathers are the best fathers.
I was gonna say that as well.
But we don't get the credit for nothing. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this dynamic, there are some, and I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback from this. There are some, and listen to my words, some Black women that prevents a Black man to become a father because the relationship didn't work out. So I'm going to force you to not see your son. I'm going to make sure you do the bare minimum and talk bad behind your back, so when he grows up, he despises of you or she despises of you.
Mm-hmm.
And why people are saying those women are wrong, instead of saying like, well, you're wrong. No, what, and that goes back, and I'm going to go on a tangent here.
Hey. That
goes back to what this woman did a couple of weeks ago with McDonald's. The guy brought McDonald's for his child.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you got to feed everybody, and throw the food at him. Now the child is hungry. The father's left. You're only hurting the child. why is there no repercussion for the woman that's doing that to the black man?
All right, let me speak on that first. One there's two ways we could look at that. One, that man did what he was supposed to do. That's his seed, and he was taking care of his seed. Two, we could look at McDonald's is getting awfully expensive. I don't know how many kids she had, but he could have divvied that little salt buck up, and they could have figured it out. Could have went to the dollar store. Hey man, look, it go a couple cans of this, that. It may not be the most healthiest, but we can make it happen. So it's like us as men, we
don't.
First and foremost,
wait. But again, and I'm sorry to jump in here. Again, it's not his responsibility.
I said that. I said it's one of two options.
Right. But if he's bringing something, let's say she said, and I quote, and I'm being fair, she brought it before, he did it before, that's when they were dating. Mm-hmm. That's when they were having quote unquote relations. Mm-hmm. It's done. It's over with. Whatever happened, happened. Mm-hmm. But now he's saying, I'm still trying to get, take care of mine. Mm-hmm. But what you're doing is wrong. Mm-hmm. So.
All right. Well, so that goes to my second point, based off what you said in the beginning. Hey, brothers, call Jeffrey Levin. I mean, like, at the end of the day, we gotta get out our own way. Hey, we got a court system for a reason. Now, the court system may not always be as fair as we'd like it to be, but there are certain actions that we must take. If you feel that it is going in that direction, and you know that this might be that type of woman, you better start planning it immediately. Hell, if y'all ain't married and you got a kid, you better got somebody on speed dial. You hear me? Like, start just researching it. Like, that's the thing. We got to take accountability and responsibility for the situations that we create. Everything cannot always be an external, how you gonna call it? Like, we can't always externally say that, give causation is what I'm trying to say. We can't always say like the cause of me doing this is because of this. Like, no, take some responsibility and accountability. The cause of me doing this is because this is what I want to do. So just like a man can willingly lay down with a woman that he may think is trifling, that could possibly be that way, he best start looking into how do I protect myself if this goes off the rails. That's it. Go to the court. Period. And then I will say this as a caveat. I want to make sure that I go down to the men's rights march when we start marching so that we can get better rights. Because as a child is born, it belongs to the mom right away. Boom. Hey, dad.
But a lot of people
you secondary.
Need to pressure the state legislature to have that, because there are some women that's out there that basically say, you know what, you did sleep with me, this is yours, and the guy be like, oh, okay, I'm taking care of mine, but it's not. And right now, and I tell this to people, you have 24 to 48 hours, state law, to get that DNA test. As soon as the baby is born. I'm trying for the masses out there to say, if you have a baby on the way, remember, you have 24 to 48 hours when the baby is in this world to get it. That's state law. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, once you sign on that dotted line, you have 2 years. 2 years. Once that baby is after 2, and your name is still on it, you're liable for 18 years. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that fathers and also brothers need to have that discussion. So it brings me to this other question that I have. Some would say that Black women are taking a more aggressive role than Black men on the streets, that is playing a big role in violence. Do you agree with that assessment?
Are you trying to say that Black women are more involved or something? Like,
yeah, they're taking a more
front lines.
Yeah, on the front lines. Look at the incident in Oak Park. Okay. Look at some of the carjacking situations. Some of them are women. So
Oh, you talk about like the
violence,
perpetrators of violence are women?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying? Oh, okay. Um,
and I would say overall roles.
I mean,
too,
listen,
with
we like,
relationships.
hey man, let's go back to do. It don't matter if male or female. It's the daddy in the house. You know what I mean? We got to go back to that part. You know what I mean? I find it hard to believe that you're gonna have two parents in the household and a child, no matter the gender, is gonna be running wild. And again, it does happen and it will happen, but it is far less likely than it is in a single parent household or a household where the aunt or grandmother is raising the child and they're 30, 40, 50 years older than a child themselves. So yes, it does seem as though young women are becoming more aggressive and becoming more involved, but they've always been. I think what is happening now is with the proliferation of artists that are FNF or that are sexually liberated or that are over gangster, however you want to call it. These women are becoming alpha women, so to speak. And these young girls are emulating that. They like that, they see it, and that's what they ultimately aspire to. So they are taking control of their lives, such as the people that they aspire to be, to emulate, are doing in their lives. I don't see a difference.
What are your thoughts on what the youth is saying to the adults through their actions on violence? What are the youth saying?
What are the youth saying?
Yeah, what are they saying?
Well, I could say
their actions in violence. What are they saying?
So I could tell you, speaking to youth, because I do some work with youth still. The youth are saying, give us places where we can gather. Take stock into the things that we enjoy doing. Provide us with the resources that we need in this moment to be successful. Give us guidance, advice, mentorship, education. That's game, right? Like, show us what it means to be an adult, while also being a child, so to speak. And I say that because as I sit with these young people and they're saying like, hey man, these are things out their mouths, right? Like where are we gonna go when they shut downtown down? The mayor, when they were wilding out down there, say, hey, we're gonna cut off Millennium Park. The kids like, okay, well, where we supposed to go? So they was like, damn, instead of cutting Millennium Park off for us, why not allow us to enjoy Millennium Park in the way that we would like to enjoy it? For example, one of them said, I'd love to be able to have a teen fest in Millennium Park where we can go down there, show off our skills as entrepreneurs, the clothes that we make, the songs we produce, the dances we love to dance, right? The songs we love to sing, and show you adults what we're doing with our time when we're not out here jacking people and acting the whole fool, right? But the mayor, her first thought was to shut it down. Now you're going to displace all those kids from going down there and try to enjoy themselves, to send them back to the hood to do what? Right? Homelessness amongst teens, and especially in Austin, is great, but nobody talks about that. But the kids know that this exists for them. And if you go through CPS's system, you'll see that it's a great need. Where are the homeless or the housing organizations for our community that can help these teens, teen moms and things like that? Now, we do have New Moms in Austin, which is great as a resource to help them with that part of life. But then mental health is a big issue. I got a teen, 17 years old, I'm trying to work with to help her establish a program that could be useful, not as a therapist because she's not there in life yet, but at least as a gathering space where her and counterparts can come together and talk about some of these issues that they're experiencing. Do a brain dump, but then also learn some valuable tips, tools, resources that can be useful to help repair the mind, right? And so these are the things that the children are talking about, right? So when they are displaying what they're displaying for us, they're crying out for the resources that they need in order to live their lives as children. Some of those children are 13, 14 years old and have to take care of their children, their brothers and sisters, while their mom goes to work.
So let's discuss babies are raising babies. And then we'll discuss on the flip side is probably the reason why the mayor shut down Millennial Park. So the biggest problem, especially in our community, a lot of people say, well, kids are raising kids. Well, and I said, let me challenge you on that. When you go in the South back in the day, kids were having kids at 13, 14, 15 years old back in the day, and they had to step up. They used to have a system there back in the day where the grandmother and the mom will teach them how to sew, will force them to become a mother instead of, yeah, I'll watch them, you do what you do.
Facts. I mean, it wasn't not too long ago that they had those transition schools where if a young lady got pregnant, she was taken out of the school and was taught to be a mom while also finishing her education. But we don't have those either.
It goes back to my point that I said earlier. It's taken away. It's not like we didn't have it.
Facts.
It's taken away. And then we have
it goes back
to state representatives. You have your aldermen. Why in the hell they're not fighting this? And there's a need for it. A lot of people say, well,
them people don't know what they're doing. I mean, let's keep it a buck. A lot of times, I mean, listen, we got a lot of appointed people. You know what I'm saying? We have people who probably have subpar resumes. Like, did you do work in the community before you were given the position? You know, we have individuals that have a lot of money poured behind them, whether it's like a union or it's business or something. I mean, at the end of the day, politics is still about interest. So the people that make the most noise, that are most vocal, while also having the biggest pockets, will typically win out. I mean, and so we got to call it for what it is. The spade's the spade. A lot of the individuals that's in that position right now probably couldn't tell you how to balance a budget, let alone control one so that it could be useful for our needs. I mean, that's it. But again, it's our fault. We put them there, and we allow them to stay there.
So how can we get them out? You're talking about grooming leaders. How can we get them out? I know voting is one, but let's put it this way. When you go and knock on the door, they'll be like, hey, let me tell you about this person, blah, 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 vote for this. Why this person is running? I don't know this person.
Facts.
This person doesn't come here, blah,
Facts.
blah, 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 blah. And then when the election comes, well, why he never, blah, blah, blah. Because you shut that person out. You shut that person out. And the reason you shut that person out is because of what you said. Number one, you said, I don't know him. You didn't make it a point to get to know him. Or you didn't make it a point to basically say, hey, you know, I don't understand.
Well, listen, one thing about our community as it relates to how we have to approach it, we got to come from a space of empathy and understanding that they've consistently been wronged by those that even look like them as it relates to the government. And in fact, the government has often used people that look like us to make sure we were able to get over on each other. So that we're already coming from a space where we don't trust even the individual that looks like us. So we have to approach with a different manner. It's not about, let me tell you about me. Let me ask you about you. I need to know how you feel about things. And I need to know how can I earn your support, because I'm definitely going to run whether I have it or not. But I need to know how can I be effective in this position, because obviously either you're okay with all of this or you would like to see something different. But you need to tell me how or what different looks like in your eyes, because obviously the same 8 to 20 odd years of what we've been getting ain't it. So you could help me with that. So that's the start, especially when you go into somebody's door, right? You got to be welcoming in your intentions and trying to get to know them first and foremost. The second part is what we don't do enough of, really put them on blast. Social media is a hell of a tool. There's a lot of people that got a lot of things accomplished by sending a simple tweet to an organization, simple Facebook message to an organization. Instagram, hey, look at this BS that they done gave me. Blew up. Black people don't ever want to call out oh man, I can't do that, man. I can't do them like that. I'm just going to suffer with what I got then. What you going to do? Either you going to put them out there or not. You can't have it both ways. So for me, I'm like, I would love, and I don't care, because politics ain't about friends, number one. It's about getting the things done that we need for this community. So
and also getting the respect.
Respect of what?
Respect. You have people in our community, and I know I cut you off, so I will let you finish.
I'll just put it out like this. What we need to do is be more media savvy. So whether that is calling out local media, right? We have a ton of really good local newspapers, whether it's Block Club Chicago, they have the Documenters program. You have the weeklies and the Old Park Journal, if you want to go all the way to Old Park and start telling on people. The Austin Voice. We have a lot of local newspapers that we could start, right? We know op-eds get things done, right? We could start there. And then if it doesn't change, we can escalate. Now we got to go get Channel 7 involved, Channel 2, whole community of people. There's 20, 30 people on here. Man, this alderman ain't did XYZ. I called them about boop, boop, boop. That's a issue to me. That's an issue to me. How we still got drugs here? Now they look a certain way, right? We talk about respect. You think anybody gonna respect a person that's supposed to be doing a job that ain't doing it? First of all, you tell me where in the hell in corporate industry you're gonna be mediocre at your job for 8 years and you're gonna retain that same position. It's a problem.
You have a new podcast that's coming out. Tell us about it.
A new podcast?
Yeah, a new Man on the Street podcast.
Not a podcast, sir.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a podcast.
No, it's not a podcast. So what I'm doing is, I'm all about civic engagement in a entertaining way. I really like to teach. And so what I'm doing is just legit going around different parts of the West Side, and I'll be asking civic engagement questions of individuals that I meet. And if they want to answer them, they can. They don't have to answer these questions. One of the things that I need to be more cognizant of, and I did this Friday, I shot a pilot. One of the things I need to be cognizant of, and I want to make sure that people understand this, is I'm not trying to make our people look bad, or am I trying to make us look funny in any type of way, because I do like funny edits and things like that. While when I break down the interviews themselves, what I am trying to do and what I need to be more cognizant of is capturing the true to life thoughts of the individuals that's in front of me, and not just really focusing on things that they may not know. So for example, certain questions I was asking was along the lines of, well, how long is a congressman elected, right? Could be a trick question, because some guy was like, well, until they're not elected. And I was like, all right, good. But in reality, what I'm trying to ask is, how often is a congressional election, right? So you and I, we know it's every 2 years because we are involved in politics. But for the individuals that I meet on the street, that because we had a 20% lower vote, 20% voter turnout last primary, probably didn't vote in that congressional election. I need to be more mindful of educating them about those type of things, and then also just asking questions to really get to the heart of the matter. So, for example, one of the questions I did ask a person was, did they know their congressman? They was like, oh, that's Danny Davis. Okay, so can you tell me what his legacy will be? Right, and then he went and said, "Oh yeah, he does the back to school parade. He does a lot of things with the children. He's very anti-violence. He's been trying to write a lot of things that help us as it relates to the violence issue here in Chicago, and those type of things. Get more into the heart of the matter to ask questions so that people can tell me from their perspective what they're experiencing in their communities versus me asking questions that they may or may not know and then trying to make it as if like, oh, this is crazy. Look, we're black people. We don't understand civics. You know what I mean? Which we don't. If we're going to be honest, we don't. But I don't want it to come off like that. I want it to be an educational experience while also being fun and light.
So how people can get in contact with you?
I'm DeAndre Rudis everywhere. I'm me. DeOndreRutus everywhere. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. I mean, if you put my name in, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. Hell, I write blogs and stuff on medium.com. You'll see a lot of different pieces of information about me. Last thing I want to say, I am currently in the process of going through IRB. So my dissertation is on this psychological resource, which is called Psychological Capital. It is said that you can develop psychological capital through training interventions. Psychological capital is our psychological resource to experience hope, optimism, resiliency, and self-efficacy. Being a Black doctor, psychologist, which I will be shortly after we do all of this, I thought it was important that this research was useful for our community. So I'm targeting the West Side. The West Side, in my opinion, is Austin, North Lawndale, South Lawndale, East Garfield, West Humboldt, and East Humboldt. And I'm looking for individuals that work in nonprofits in those communities. You also have to live in those communities. And you have to be between the ages of 18 to 65 in order to be a part of the study. But again, my goal is to develop your hope, optimism, resiliency, and self-efficacy as the research suggests it can be done. And I'm looking to do it for our people because our people is always left out as it relates to being developed in a proper way.
All right. Thank you so much. That's going to do it. Don't be a stranger, my man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right.
My boy.
That's going to do it for us this Monday. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, our executive producer, Wanda behind the scenes. You guys have a wonderful week.